we get into that, the polls are actually still pretty tight for the most part. So it looks pretty good. Harris has a bit of a lead with the national polls, but it's close in the swing states. And I think Trump has like a slight lead depending on which polls or aggregate we're looking at. But I wanted to go through this because it might be the polls are a little bit off because they have been the last few years. But I want to cover this. So they just, real quick, this article, Harris and Trump in tight races, swing states remain in play before U.S. election. Harris leads nationally by 48.2%. Trump follows close behind at 46.4%. So as they go through this with the election set for November 5th, Harris is polling at 48.2%, while Trump follows closely at 46.4%, according to recent data from ABC, blah, 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 on 538. However, the national numbers do not tell the full story. The race remains fiercely competitive in key battleground states, where it's going to be won. So it's pretty much neck and neck on the polls. Both candidates are virtually locked in Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. Those are three big states to win. So you can read the rest of this article, but that's basically what they're talking about, is it's close in the polling. It is super close. So I want to go through this, though, because what happened is, let me go back for a second. After the Dobbs decision, and Roe v. Wade, they basically took a right away from women, the first time the Supreme Court's ever done that in the history of this country. There have been several bills, lots of bills in different states to reinstate abortion rights. And all of them have passed. And every time that's happened, everybody thought, oh, it's not going to pass because the polling says it's either close or there's a slight edge on the pro-life side, right? Not on the pro-choice side. Well, what ended up happening was they undercounted the number of women who would turn out. So in every election since 2022, the polls miscounted the number of women who were going to vote. That is probably in play here. The other thing that's in play, we talked about a bunch of times, which is why we thought Biden would win, is Trump only got 80% of the primary vote. Nikki Haley got like 20%, and she wasn't even running at that point. So a fifth of the Republican Party is sick of Trump. And we talked about that a bunch. Well, there's another thing that just that just came out. Here's CNN. We're going to watch a couple clips from them, but this is just amazing to me. But Trump's lost ground with another demographic that he really can't lose.
The fact that we're seeing this core group of supporters actually moving away from him, not just off of the 2016 baseline, but the 2020 baseline as well, I think that's a rather interesting development.
Shrinkage.
Shrinkage, said CNN, in describing Donald Trump's standing with non-college white voters. That is a key Trump demographic, and the loss of his performance with that group comes as national polls show Kamala Harris with a clear overall lead. Now, I
want to cover that real quick for a second. So he is down 4 points from 2020 with non-college educated white people. And he's making a big push for the non-college educated white male vote right now. That's why he's going on the PBD podcast and all these manosphere podcast shit. Because he's down with those voters. So is he scrambling? Does his campaign know something we don't know that's not being reported? Maybe. Because that's where he's going. He's not doing the town hall debates. He's not doing a lot of interviews, like complicated interviews, probably because he'll look cognitively out of it. Where's he going? He's going to all the dude bros on YouTube and Twitch and Rumble. Right? That's where he's going. So that's the target, because I think they've lost ground there. The other thing that the same guy in CNN pointed out, the same pollster, and I want to show this, it's kind of changed what they're looking at for the election, because there is a big feeling now that the polls might be off. Because you also have to remember, we have now a record number of new registered voters this year, especially thanks to Taylor Swift endorsing Kamala Harris. Within a day of her doing that, there were 370,000 new registered voters in one day. There's millions now. So those people, or mostly young people, are not taking polls. I tell you that right now. They see a strange number on their phone. They're not answering it. They're not answering the poll emails. They're not doing any of that shit. So those people aren't answering the polls, so they might be miscounted. But they make a good point here on how dangerous this might actually be, or how great it might be, one way or the other.
Less than 2 weeks ago in this election, and we've been telling you how close it is. Historically close. Closer than ever. But here's a question.
Okay.
What if it's not? All right, CNN senior data reporter
Wait,
Harry
are they trying to be
here.
fun?
And as
I think they're trying to be funny. I think the guy Harry's like, why is this guy on camera? Why isn't this just my bit? Especially if you're talking to the poll nerd, why do we need the anchor? We don't really need him. Steve Kornacki doesn't have to put up with the shit on MSNBC. That's what he's thinking. Yeah, you're an idiot. Just let me fucking speak. That's what I think is going on. I think
Okay, I'm super distracted by how weird that was. Actually, I was like, what's going on?
I think he was trying to be cute, but I also think at the same time he's sitting there thinking, why are you even here, man? There's no need for you to be here.
close as it is,
Yes, sir.
and we do believe it's super
Yes.
close right now, that also means that if things change even just a little bit, it's not really close.
It isn't. So we have been talking about the idea that there's going to be a historically close election. I think I might have said it on this particular program, but in fact, will the winner get at least 300 electoral votes? The answer is majority yes. There's a majority yes chance, 60% chance that the winner of this election gets at least 300 electoral votes versus just a 40% chance that the winner ends up getting less than 300 electoral votes. So for all the talk that we've had about this election being historically close, which it is, chances are the winner will still actually score a relative blowout in the Electoral College.
Oh my God, you're making my hair hurt. Boom. How can it be that it's so close, but yet still more likely than not that it's a fairly big victory in the Electoral College?
Yeah, so let's take a look at that polling average, all right? So if you look across the 7 key swing states, the 7 closest states, in all of them, the margin right now is under 2 points, under 2 points. But keep in mind, polling ain't perfect, my dear friends. On average, since 1972, in the battleground states, in the key swing states, the average error in the key swing states is 3.4 points. So if all...
Okay, now I want to clear that too. So when they say error is 3.4, that means 3.4 in either direction. It's called standard deviation. So that means it could be 3.4 up for them or 3.4 down. So when they say 3.4, the error margin is actually 7.8. It's double that. Because it could go either way. That's the actual window. So just so you guys understand that.
All of the battleground
That's a
states
lot.
go in one
Yeah.
direction, you can end up with a map like this for Kamala Harris, where she wins all the key Great Lake battleground states, wins North Carolina, wins Georgia, wins Arizona, wins Nevada, and she gets to 319.
That's even better than Biden did.
That's even better than Biden did. Of course, it could go in the other direction, whereby Trump wins all the key Great Lake battleground states, North Carolina, Georgia, Arizona, and Nevada, and he gets to 312 electoral
And
votes.
that's even better than Trump did in 2016.
Exactly right. So based upon what we see with the average polling error and how close the states are at this point, if all of the states move in one direction, one of these candidates could score a relative blow in the Electoral College, win 300 plus electoral votes.
What does history tell us about the possibility of all these states moving in one direction?
History tells us that it is more likely than not that all of the swing state polling errors would move in one direction. So in 2012, 92% of the states moved in Obama's direction. That is, the polls underdid Obama. In 2016, 83% of the swing states moved together because the polls underdid Donald Trump. Of course, we all remember that. And how about in 2020? 100% of the swing state polling averages underestimated Donald Trump. And so he did better than a lot of folks thought. So this time around...
So with the swing state polls, especially what he's pointing out there is the last 3 presidential elections, they've undercounted. The polling has undercounted where it's going to go for a certain candidate. But it almost always goes one way. And let me give you some good news for those of you freaking out about the polls. The majority of the polls you're seeing out of the big 18, 12 of them are conservative. So do you think they're miscounting in Harris's favor, or do you think they might be miscounting in Trump's favor? So this might actually be really, really good for her. And I think she's been pretty relaxed and confident. She's been doing really well on the trail because I think her internal polling is showing it looks like we're going to at least take, Pennsylvania, Michigan, maybe North Carolina. Florida is still technically in play. Trump's been campaigning in Florida for that.
How on God's green earth is Florida in play?
Oh, I know. Texas is in play.
Be in play.
I don't know. Texas is still in play. I mean, it's psychotic. Did you want to say that again? I think you froze for a second there. But you were talking about Florida?
I said, I never in a million years thought Florida could be in play. Never.
But it might be. It might be. It might not be. I'm not getting my hopes up. But
they're definitely counting it red as they are Texas. But the idea that it could even be close enough to be worth even a half a conversation is pretty amazing.
Oh, absolutely.